Hi, my name is Jonas. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be building a PC from scratch. We're going to be naming the parts, what the parts do, and of course we're going to be building it. Stay tuned. Let's go. Now, before we begin, it's important that you have some tools. Now, Torx. This is a Torx screw right here. As you can see, it has 6 small points. It's a star-shaped design. It's for a better grip and used in places when extra torque is required. And we also need a normal screwdriver. You'll often see this screwdriver in any cabinet maybe. As you can see, this is a way smaller version. Easy to get into small places to screw in or screw out parts. Now, it's also important to keep a few extra bits and also to interchange these. If you have the same screwdriver I have here, you can just pop it out, pop it in, and it'll stay there. It's magnetic. It's also important to keep a few extra bits in case your computer has different screwing options that you need, and they are easily interchangeable. Now, it's also important that you don't use a large electric screwdriver that you would normally use for like building a house or doing any sort of woodwork, just so you don't screw up and use it and go too hard on it, because it can eventually wear down the parts or even destroy. Now that we've talked about the parts, let's get this out of the way and let's go to the computer. Here is our computer. This is what we are going to be using. I'm going to be telling you all about the parts and what they are, what they do, how to assemble them. So let's go ahead and deassemble everything that we're going to be talking about. It's important that we do not forget the power supply, also known as the PSU. So the power output, PSU, converts alternative current, AC, from the wall outlet into direct current. So let's say I am to plug this computer in. There is a large here, as you can see. This is where your computer gets power from. This connects into the wall after you've connected a cable to it. The cable looks like this. This connects to your wall, your power socket, and this connects to the computer. So the wattage comes in various wattage ratings. The PSU comes in various wattage ratings, typically ranging from 300 watt to over 1,000 to over 1,000 watts. So the lifespan of your PSU can last for many years, and it's also important to make sure that your PSU power supply is compatible. As you can see, this one is already in here. Inside of this box is all the components. In newer PCs, you probably won't even be able to see in it, and it should. Now, if I was to take this off, there is a tiny spot here where I can just take it off, screw behind here, and I could show it to you, but that isn't necessary since it's very easy to already connect this. It's just a couple of screws and connect it to your motherboard. For example, with these 4-pin Molexes, these go into areas of your motherboard. So let's show you this now. Open this hatch. This is just to protect from water damages, etc. So here we have our 4-pin Molex, as you can see, and this connects right into here, this way into here, and we're not going to connect this now because we'll be doing that later on in the video. Now that we have disassembled all of our parts, let's get on with the most important part of them all. What you see here is the motherboard. A motherboard is the main printed circuit board in general purpose computers. So general purpose being anything from a stationary like this or a laptop. This is the motherboard. Everything you see here, this large plate, is the motherboard. And other expandable systems as well. It holds and allows communication and between many of the crucial electronic components, such as system, such as central processing unit and memory, and provides connectors for other peripherals. So, connectors for the RAM sticks, for the CPU, and that is essentially the motherboard. You saw that we removed this. This is a CPU cooler, also known as a heatsink. Now, CPU cooler is a device designed to dissipate heat generated by the CPU, also known as the central processing unit of a computer. It's an essential component because the CPUs produce a significant amount of heat when they are under load. The CPU being this little device here. And the excessive heat can lead to performance throttling or even permanent damage. So without the CPU coolers, you wouldn't have your CPU functioning. Now, there are several types of CPU coolers. There are air coolers like this one, and there are liquid coolers as well. Now, the air coolers use a combination of heat sinks and fans to dissipate heat away from the CPU. Here's the fans and the heat sinks, and also here's part of it. And you can see these copper cables here, the gold cables. Now, they typically consist of metal heat sink with copper or aluminum fins, one of the fans mounted on top alongside the heat. Now, if you had a liquid cooler, that essentially means a cooling system that uses a pump to circulate a coolant, usually a mixture of water and a special additive for better thermal conductivity. Through a series of tubes connected to the CPU block, the coolant absorbs heat from the CPU and then circulated to a radiator, where it's cooled by fans before circulated back to the CPU block. Moving on to the brain of the computer. This is the CPU. We briefly mentioned it already, and the CPU often referred to as the brain of the computer as well. So this is the CPU. As you can see, it has some thermal paste on it. Thermal paste is very important to have on it. As I mentioned, the CPU gets very hot and thermal paste is used to dissipate the heat. So the CPU is a crucial component, obviously, and is responsible for executing instructions and performing calculations. It's essentially the primary component that handles all the tasks and processes in a computer system. To add on to the CPU, key aspects of it include architecture. CPUs are designed based on specific architectures such as x86, ARM, or RISC-V. Each architecture has its own instruction set and design philosophy, catering to different types of computing devices and workloads. Cores. So, modern CPUs typically feature multiple cores, allowing them to execute multiple tasks simultaneously. There are dual cores, quad cores, hexacore, octa-core, and even higher counts are common in modern CPUs. Now, this CPU isn't that modern, so this has a, I believe, could be a dual core. I believe it's a dual core. Key aspect also is clock speed. So clock speed measured in gigahertz. indicates how many cycles the CPU can execute per second. Higher clock speeds generally result in better performance, but other factors like architecture and core count also play a significant role. CPUs include various levels of cache memory too. So cache memory to store frequently accessed data and instructions, which helps improve by reducing the needs to access slower system memory. TPD, thermal design power, represents the maximum amount of heat generated by a CPU. Well, you need a CPU cooler. Heat generated by a CPU under load of the cooling system is required to dissipate. It's an important factor to consider when selecting a CPU cooler for your CPU. And also, some CPUs include integrated graphics processing unit, GPUs, eliminating the need for separate discrete graphics card system where graphical demands are moderate. Now, in this computer here, there are no graphics cards. Typically, a graphics card is the most expensive part of your build. So when it comes to a graphics card, it's important to check what games or what tasks you're going to be doing, and hopefully you will be able to do your own research and pick a graphics card that will, be to your standards. So let's say you are a normal gamer, you don't need the highest equipment, you don't need the newest equipment to have fun. So it's important to keep that in mind. So this is your RAM. You saw me take this out of the motherboard, also known, the computer. You saw me take this out of the computer. It's located right here. So you see there are 4 slots, but we only have 1. So I'm going to be talking about the RAM sticks. So your RAM, or also known as random access memory, is a type of computer memory that allows data to be stored and retrieved on a temporary basis. It's like a short-term memory for your computer, so when active data is stored while your system is running. So there are different types of RAM. Over the years, we've seen several generations of RAM from DDR1 to the latest DDR5, and each generation improves speed, efficiency, and capacity. Now this isn't one of the newer RAMs, this is an older RAM. Yeah, that is your RAM, random access memory. Moving on to your SSD. This is a smaller SSD. It only has 250 gigabytes. On newer computers, your SSD is actually smaller than this one. Now this might look small, but it is actually really large for its age. In modern computers, on modern motherboards, your your SSD, excuse me for that, your SSD is often located as almost a strip. It can even almost look like your random access memory. Now this is a larger SSD. It's a 250 gigabyte 3D NAND SATA SSD. Solid state drive is what SSD stands for. So an SSD is a type of storage device, obviously, that stores data using flash memory, as opposed to traditional mechanical hard drives, HDDs, which are used spinning magnetic disks. Now SSDs offer several advantages over HDDs, including faster performance, lower power consumption, and greater durability due to the absence of moving parts. Now some key points are the performance, durability, low power consumption, and silent operation, and the cost. So newer SSDs can cost you about $200, whereas older ones, even though they're mostly the same, usually the newer ones are up to 2 terabytes, 1 terabyte, etc. And you probably only need 1 to 2 terabytes. And this is a way smaller one with 250 gigabytes. Now 1 terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes, so that kind of puts it into perspective for you. And we are now ready. We are now going to be putting our parts in. We'll be starting with the easiest part, which is your SSD. Now I'm going to play a video for you if you have a more modern SSD on how to put that in. Play the clip.
Hold the plastic pull tab between your finger and thumb and pull it straight up while wiggling it from side to side. The connector should pop up slightly and the pin should come out. Now insert your SSD into the slot at an angle. Hold the SSD down with one hand so that the screw cutout on the SSD sits directly over the hole on the connector. With your other hand, slide the pin back into the hole on the connector and press down until it clips back into place.
Now that that clip has been shown, here is your SSD. It connects via these wires. I will have to turn this around for you so you can see. It has these wires right here, and this large one connects like this. You should hear a small click, and the smaller one connects into the smaller slot here. Hear a little click, and it is connected. Now you can place this neatly like this, and that is your SSD connected, ready to store information for you. Now let's do a very elegant part, which is connecting your RAM. To connect your RAM, there are a few slots here. So to connect your random access memory, you have to, here, let's reset these so I can show you. So usually a computer comes with two of these, or you should at least buy two of them. And as you can see, there are color options here. So depending on the RAM that you have, it should either go in these two slots or these two black slots. So beige slots or the black slots. This slot I'm going to be opening here is the beige slot. So if I were to have two, I will place one here and one on this one. But now let's connect this RAM bit here. So as you can see, if I just like that, I have opened these small hatches, and there is a very tiny slot here, and it's important to line this up with your computer. Just line this up, give it a little bit of a there. You should hear a small sort of noise, a sort of like that, and you are good to go. Then you just place these, and yeah, you're good to go. Now this is very important. So your CPU, your central processing memory, your brain, there is a small little notch here. On more modern computers, all of these metal here, these are golden, very golden, very shiny. There we go, now you can see it. All of these usually have pins, so it's important that you do not press down. You want to be very gentle. It's very important to be gentle. So you see there is a very, very tiny little arrow here, and that goes into here. And what you need to do is you just place this down like that, and it is in place. Now you can put your latch like this, and you should feel some resistance when bending down here. You just put this underneath and you are good to go. Now, as you can see, there is a little screw here, so if you shouldn't have to, but if there is no screw here, make sure you get one, screw it in, and if you feel like it is too loose, if it wiggles around in there, use your screwdriver, whichever part you need. For this you would need this kind of Torx, and yeah. Now let's connect your heatsink. The heatsink is very much the same on every sort of computer. Your CPU cooler, to be exact, is very important for cooling your system, and I've already explained why. So this is placed down on each one of these 4 slots here that you can screw in. So have your screws on already. As you can see, they are on. Just place this down very gently. And this is why it's important to not use power tools if you do not know what you're doing. Here, let's connect this to our motherboard. There we go, now you can work. And here we're going to be using this I went over at the start of the video. So you connect this by screwing it in here. Just screw a little bit on each side before you put too much pressure on it. Just screw it a little bit on each side. Now, if you have a power tool that is like this, like this screwdriver, it's just a press and do it, then you can. But if it's a larger one, I would not recommend it, because it can damage your computer parts, and that would not be a very fun way to begin your PC building. Now, when you feel that you cannot screw it in anymore, you just leave it be, and you should have no problems. This last screw here, and we are done. We have connected absolutely everything. Now, when connecting your graphics card, which you usually have on modern computers, and I would expect you to have a graphics card as long as it's not integrated, it would probably be around this area right here, which is very empty. And make sure I do not forget to plug the power supply in. I don't know, this might not be on your heatsink or your power supply, but this is just to keep it neat. So I'm gonna put it around here. This was our 4-pin Molex, if you guys remember. Open this so you guys can see. And you just plug this in like this. You should hear a little bit of a click. And that is that. We're now done. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and that this is only the start of your PC building journey. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you later. I'm out.
Forever in a day.